Hey everybody, I'm Sam Haymart and you're watching Test Driven TV. Today we are test driving the 2025 Subaru Forester Sport. Now, some of you might be out there thinking, wait a minute, didn't Sam just test this exact same car last summer? Same color, same model, same everything. Well, actually something's a little bit different on this one, and that is, this is the new hybrid model. Yeah, they have added a hybrid finally for 2025. This is the first of a number of new vehicles that will be including this new second generation hybrid powertrain. The next one coming this fall, which is the Crosstrek. So what's different about this from the vehicle we tested last year? Well, not that much, to be honest with you. Interior, exterior design is essentially identical, but the big difference is what's under the hood. This uses an all-new second generation Subaru hybrid powertrain. The good news is, for all of you Subaru files out there, is it uses the same 2.5 liter boxer 4-cylinder engine that Subaru's been known for forever. The difference here is that this one is an Atkinson cycle, a little bit more efficient, a little bit more tailored for a hybrid powertrain. And behind that engine is an all-new second generation hybrid eCVT. It's developed with Toyota, which means that a lot of internal parts and pieces are Toyota designed and engineered, which makes sense since Toyota and Subaru are family companies. The transmission and the transaxle itself, it's all Subaru. It's the same design that we've come to know. The longitudinal design and the symmetrical all-wheel drive mechanical capability that Subaru is famous for. This does not use the same system format that a lot of Toyotas use, which have an electric motor at the rear axle and no drive shaft connecting the front and rear axles. This is purely mechanical. It's purely Subaru. All right, my friends, let's take this thing for a drive. So the first thing we're going to do is fire it up. I'm going to hit the power button, and like most hybrid cars, it lights up, the dash lights up, ready comes on, and we didn't have an engine fire up. That's not a surprise. That's how it goes. Here comes the engine. I'm going to turn on the AC. We are in Phoenix, and it's in April, which means it's almost 80 degrees already this morning. So let's take this baby for a drive and see how it goes. Now we're in downtown Phoenix, and I thought that was the best place to take a hybrid for a drive, since it's really all about how does it drive in the city and how does that power get delivered. Well, first of all, what's under the hood? 2.5 liter Atkinson cycle, gasoline engine, horizontally opposed 4-cylinder. It has 162 horsepower by itself. The eCVT has 2 motors, very similar to how a Toyota Prius eCVT works, although it's a completely different box. It has a traction motor with 118 horsepower. Altogether, it has a combined horsepower of 194, which is a little bit of a bump over the standard gasoline model. Now, that is a little bit offset by its 300-pound curb weight increase, so it doesn't necessarily mean that it's faster, but I have noticed that with the electric motor kicking in with its high torque, this does have a little bit more of an off-the-line feel than does the gasoline model, because the electric motor and the gasoline motor are working together to bring you that power instantaneously. So as we come to a stop, gasoline engine drops off. And one of the things I've noticed about this car versus the gasoline model is that it essentially drives and feels the same as you're going around town and getting on the freeway and doing the everyday drive. And that's because the standard Subaru gas model has a CVT. And even though this isn't a CVT, not exactly the same kind of transmission, the how it feels and how it drives is very similar. And honestly, how it sounds is very similar when the gasoline engine is on. As just like with the Forester that we drove before, it has a nice solid chassis, a nice bit of road manners as we go along. It feels good driving down the road. It's got a nice supple suspension. It's quiet. It just feels of quality. And that's really one of the big things I always look for when I'm test driving a car. I like a car that feels like quality. I don't like a POS. And so this feels like it's well worth the money. And it does cost. You do spend up a little bit when you go for the hybrid. Even though this is an Atkinson cycle version of the gasoline engine, the sound and the quietness is about the same. You can hear it. It sounds like a Subaru. So if you're familiar with Subarus, it's going to feel like home. And when the engine's off and you roll into the power, The electric motor is quite silent, obviously. You really don't hear anything going on in that way. One of the other big things that is a takeaway for me here is the fact that the transition between the gas and the electric power is as seamless as it gets these days for a hybrid car. These have been around for a better part of 20 plus years. It's not a surprise. When it comes to fuel economy, this is rated at 35 city, 34 highway, and 35 combined. Now, in my week with it, I've seen about 30 mpg. Now, that is quite a big distance from what it says on the window sticker, but in fairness, it's been 100 degrees here in Phoenix already, and I've had the air conditioner on at all times when I've driven this car. And in my own experience, both driving other hybrids and owning a hybrid, the heat and air conditioning tend to really hit the fuel economy. And the fuel economy numbers aren't necessarily built around the model of 100% AC use. So my Ferrometer says 30 miles per gallon, not that big of a gulf given the fact that it's been hot and the AC's been on. And that's because the AC in this car is actually run by the hybrid battery instead of being driven by the engine, the air conditioner, and all of the parts and pieces that generate the coolness are actually powered by the lithium-ion battery, which is located in the back, it's worth noting. It's where the spare tire would normally be. A sizable battery. The only drawback to how they've mounted that battery is the fact that we don't have a spare tire back there anymore. There is no spare tire with this Subaru Forester. Instead, it does have a tire repair kit. So if you get a flat, you'll have to go through that. If you tear a tire open, you're probably going to have to get a tow truck. So there's that. My big takeaway with the driving experience here is that it drives very little different from the standard gasoline model. Power feels about the same. It sounds about the same. Power delivery with the transmission is virtually identical, although you do notice the fact that once in a while you have electric power and once in a while you have gas power. And once in a while, when you really lay into the power pedal, you're getting the benefit of both. And as far as road manners and the extra weight, 300 pounds, as I mentioned, that's a pretty good amount of weight to add to a vehicle in its base form. I found that with most of the weight being both spread across the back with the battery and in this transmission with the electric motors, it doesn't really feel a lot different dynamically in that way. It really isn't that much different than putting a couple of passengers in your back seat. So yeah, there's not a big trade-off, I do not think, when it comes to drivability and livability every day. The only big thing is that spare tire. Now, the last thing I'll talk about here is the interior, which on the Sport model I think is very well appointed. I love this fabric and the trim and a lot of the accents that they've done in here. I think it's beautiful, it's high quality, and we talked about that on our first test drive of this vehicle. All the technology that you have here with the digital screens and the big portrait style infotainment center, I think really do make for a nice package given the price point of this vehicle. All right, my friends, there you have it for the Subaru Forester Hybrid. I've got to tell you, I'm pretty impressed with this vehicle. Now, again, we just test drove it last summer, and we had high praise for this vehicle at that time because it's well built, it's got great versatility, lots of space inside, and it's very unique in the market with its powertrain and its design. It's very tall, very spacious inside. And a lot of people just love Subarus for their design and their product DNA. And this carries through with that. And that really is the takeaway here, is stepping up to the hybrid really isn't that big of a move because the driving behavior is virtually identical to the gas model. As we said, the big difference, higher fuel efficiency. Now, yes, not Prius fuel efficiency here. We didn't expect that. It's a big, heavy SUV. It's not a small, aerodynamic little Prius type vehicle. And so it doesn't have that kind of big, huge mileage improvement, but it's pretty substantial. And given the EPA numbers and my own experience with it this week, I do expect that most people that buy this can expect to see into the low and mid 30s pretty easily for fuel economy. So thumbs up. I think they've done a nice job here. And I have to tell you that I am pretty excited about driving this powertrain in the Crosstrek when it comes out this fall. That test drive will be along then, and I expect it probably going to be a little bit more fuel efficient than this because it is smaller, it is lighter, and therefore theoretically more fuel efficient. So there you go. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Now, we have test driven this vehicle before, so a more detailed test drive on everything else but the powertrain can be seen right there on our original Forester test drive. See, it's exactly the same. A detailed under the hood tour right there, get more into the nuts and bolts, and you can subscribe right here. Thanks for watching.